Well, it has happened, guys. It is true. I got to see an early screening of the infamous and highly anticipated God's Not Dead 2. So this week here in Nashville, they had the annual NRB conference, which is National Religious Broadcasters, which has become more broadcasters, musicians, and film. Maybe a little bit of online media, but not so much. When I got my badge, there certainly wasn't a YouTuber category. Leave it to these Christian media conventions to be on the cutting edge of their field. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is that at the conference, they had an early screening of God's Not Dead 2, and I was like, well, I have got to go see that, and I did, and here is what I thought. So oftentimes the quality of a film can really be affected by how you feel going into it. Going into this, obviously my expectations were pretty low, both because the original film was not very good, as you could find out in my original review of it, and also because, honestly, the way it is presented in the trailer is very different than the way it comes across in the film. That being said, whenever I looked at my list of things that I thought were good about the movie, I realized the only reason I felt they were good is because they had improved since the original film, or it was different from what I expected based on the trailer. And I promise I will get into a lot more of those specifics when I review this movie when it comes out on DVD. For right now, obviously I'm just doing a quick overview, so please bear with me because I can only say so much. So you might be asking yourself, Kevin, what were those things that were better than the original film? For example, though the movie begins with them introducing a lot of characters and it feels like the second season of a TV show where all the people that you love and your favorite characters are coming in and you're like, oh, it's that person. But as the movie progresses and after they get all that out of the way, they do very much focus on the one central story, which is the court case. And I actually found the court case somewhat compelling. I mean, the whole premise of the film to me is very ridiculous to begin with, and it's what you see in the trailer where the student in a history class asks a question about Jesus, the teacher answers it, a whole uproar, she gets taken to court, and the whole teachers union turns against her and everything. But I was willing to go along with it because I was like, well, okay, fine. This is a movie where a teacher could get in trouble if she said this, all right? This isn't the real world, but it is a world that I'm watching in a fictional story. I also think that initial catalyst to set up the film's premise is a bit ridiculous because she's working at a school. She's not fighting against somebody persecuting her for her faith. She's fighting for the right to continue to receive a check from the government while still doing what her employer says that she shouldn't be doing. And all of this gets confusing as to what's right and wrong because it happens to be at a public school, and this is the problem with that entire situation. Another thing that I appreciated about the film that was a little bit different from the original is that not every single non-Christian character is evil. I mean, you do have some evil non-believers caricatures in the film, but you also have the girl's lawyer who isn't a Christian but is also just a nice person. And they kind of leave it at that throughout the film. There's never the Kendrick brothers field moment. I do find it interesting that they do make that particular character a public defender and not a Christian, especially since these movies are sponsored by the Alliance Defending Freedom Foundation, which is a non-profit law firm that specifically takes cases like this, and they would, if this type of case ever happened, of course, be right there. But I get it, in this world that they've built, that particular foundation doesn't exist. So it's kind of like, this is what would happen if we didn't exist. These teachers union people and the lawyer that's prosecuting are the Kevin Sorbo style caricatures of non-believers. Now, do people like that exist? Yeah, probably. And are they right in being so adamantly anti-Christian? No, that's bad. But you could always point to fanatics and extremists on any side of the aisle, and so I think that it's very unfair to paint the character that you side with as this meek, humble, what, I just answered a question type person, while then painting the other side as extreme and hostile and angry. Because you could just as easily make a propaganda piece about the other side and have a Westboro Baptist Church fanatic blowing up abortion clinics or something, and then have this humble liberal who just wants to give food to the poor and help young women in need, and here these people are attacking them. That's just as much of a problem. These situations tend to be exaggerated so that it can perpetuate this idea that Christians are under attack, and so we have the right to attack in self-defense, and I don't think we do. So when the film was over, the head of PureFlix got up, Michael Scott, a different Michael Scott. You guys have got to go see this movie. There are gonna be theaters around the country playing this film. You guys are Christian media people and pastors and ministers. You have got to buy out theaters, and we're also gonna have it available in Spanish. We need you guys to buy a Spanish and an English theater and support this because we need to send a message to Hollywood that these types of movies exist, and this is 2 hours of the gospel. And it always gets me whenever these guys do this. Why are you so passionate passionate about spreading the gospel only when it comes to this film that you will specifically financially benefit from. Then he said, is there any questions? What's your favorite Bible verse? John 3:16. Come on, really? That's your favorite Bible verse? It's just very generic, felt very insincere. This is a room full of broadcasters. I was very disappointed in the types of questions that were asked. Probably don't judge my opinion based on this review, judge it on this number, which, you know what? That audience just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm dropping it down 19% on the Say Goodnight Kevin meter. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. If you guys wanna check out my review of the trailer, it's down there. If you wanna check out my review of the original film, it's right there. And if you just want to support the show and you like what I'm doing here, you can check out my Patreon. Someone named Brendan Neely supports me on there. Patreon.com/SayGoodnightKev. And that's all I gotta say for this week. I will talk to you soon. Good night.
Now, what are you gonna do tomorrow? You're gonna text God's Not Dead 2? You're gonna go out and tell your friends? You're gonna get people to see the movie? You're gonna change Hollywood, and you're gonna change the country, and you're gonna change the world. How's that?